Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health with Sara Banta. I'm a busy wife, mom of 3, and an NANP certified supplement professional. But that's not all. I'm also the founder of, I just found out, year number 4 in a row, the most innovative supplement company. I'm super excited, and thanks to all of you. But we are a brand offering natural scalar enhanced supplements to optimize your health. And this podcast is not just a source of information. We are a community. We're all here to learn and grow on our health journeys, regardless of where you are today. And this podcast is the springboard to learning, and the free group coaching and Telegram is where we continue learning together. You ask your questions that are sparked from talks like today. Or I just post tips and tools to deepen your health and keep you moving forward. So here's what you can expect. New episodes every Monday and Wednesday with in-depth health discussions and expert guests, hot topics that are in the news every Friday to keep things fun. And then, of course, followed up with the free group coaching on Telegram. The link is on my website at SaraBantaHealth.com. And have you thought about detoxing, but you're worried about being hangry or starving or having those flu symptoms? Well, I've created over 10 unique, easy detox cleanse programs to help you reset your body while feeling great, no symptoms. You can take the detox quiz at SaraBantaHealth.com to find out which one's right for you. And maybe you're not ready for a detox. Maybe you just want to start with 1, 2, 3 supplements and don't know which ones you need. Complete my health goals form, the free supplement protocol I will personally put together just for you. And just by taking a few steps forward with your health, you will change your life. And the difference is I'm here every step of your journey. And today, as you can see her beautiful face, I've got one of my favorite humans back on, Debra Atkinson. I feel like we are a match made in heaven as we're talking to the same women out there, and she tells you what to do physically, and I tell you what to do with diet and supplements, and you are going to get this synergy that takes you to the moon, and you can live the better years in the second half of your life, right, Debra?
So true. So true. And it really is. I love that, the whole embracing of this idea. But I can tell you that mentally, I thought that. I said it out loud. But then when I turned 60, it was like, oh, yeah, I really don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm just doing my thing.
That's the difference, is that in your 20s and 30s, you care so much what other people think. Now you get to feel good and not care what people think and have the wisdom that you didn't have when you were younger. So life is just fantastic. And I feel better today at 49 than I ever did in high school and college when I was working my tail off and worrying about what other people think. So life is so much sweeter. And if anyone has seen Debra physically on social media, she is buff, she's toned, she is in awesome shape, and she walks the walk. So she is the one to be listening to. I'm super excited about today's topic, Menopause Muscle Secret, and what to do differently as we go through these stages. And Debra, I've got 2 daughters. They are rowing crew, which is the hardest sport out there. My one daughter is at USC in college, and she goes, Mom, do you know that we work out harder than the football players or the basketball players? And we put to shame any other sport. And I'm sitting there going, okay, how are your female hormones dealing with this? What, I could never do that. And if I tried to do half or even a third of what they did, my body would shut down. I'd gain weight. My hair would be falling out. My hormones would be all over the map, and you just can't do it. So there's a way to navigate, and that's what we're going to talk about. So maybe start with the myths, what women are doing and what they're doing wrong, and why.
I think, it comes back to what we learned when we were in our 20s and 30s that worked. And so for many of us, I think we've been in a moment where we hit this black hole where we were just really busy, like focused on career, focused on family. And then we're looking up and we're like, oh, you know what? This is catching up to me. I need to get back to my fitness. I need to get back into a routine. But we default to what we learned, that that body that had 30-year-old hormones is not going to bode very well for us at 45, 48, 60. And so we've got to kind of unlearn some of the things we learned once, because even as you are discovering, I'm sure for your daughters, that what we did potentially isn't great for them, and it won't get them to the point where they're at midlife doing better than we are. They'll just have to replay the same things we're all doing. So if we can prevent that for them, so much better. But I think the number one is we still default to, I must do cardio to lose weight and burn a lot of calories. And it's, if I don't burn a lot of calories, it's not worthwhile. That, I hope nobody's tuning in right there thinking that's our advice, because that's the mistake. Making that connection is the mistake, and not severing that thought process in your brain and catching yourself like, no, that's what I thought. It's what I believed for a long time. But just because I think it doesn't make it true.
Yeah. And you know what? This applies to my girls in their age, in their young age groups. I was just talking to my daughter. She goes, "Oh my gosh, we have so many injuries on the team right now
Mm,
because of overtraining." There's not, it's with
yeah.
rowing, it's not
Yeah.
a contact sport. You're not, banging into someone and having a fall. It's just overtraining. And
Hmm.
so even at the younger ages, and so imagine what your body is doing later on,
Yeah.
and then you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
cardio causes the stress to go up, the cortisol to go up. And guess what happens with cortisol? Fat storage. The body
Right.
says, "Oh, I have only so much money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, if I only have $20 in the bank, I'm going to slow down my spending to
Mm-hmm.
make that $20 last a whole lot longer."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what cortisol does. That's what your body does when you constantly go on eight
Mm-hmm.
mile runs every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sacrifice the other parts and the other ways of working out and benefiting your body.
Right. And twofold, right? So cortisol is present. We're in a fat storage mode, and we're breaking down muscle at the same
Right.
time. You know, and so all of that is compromising for sure. But the truth is, if you hit your 40s and you're trying to do that, you have another thing pinging you for increasing your cortisol, and that's just hormones. It's just because you punched your ticket in midlife. Period. It's going on whether you caused it by some of your lifestyle habits or not. It's happening. So it's just another thing contributing, and we have a tipping point, and it's different for you or for me or for any woman watching. The tipping point is different. So often somebody will ask a follow-up question right now, like, well, how much is too much? And you and I can't answer that for them.
Mhm.
We have to answer by, let's talk about your signs and symptoms, because they're showing up telling you that that's too much for you. So, number one, remember that the exercise you're doing should make you feel good. If it doesn't, it's making you more tired, or you're cranky, you're moody, you're hangry, you don't have an appetite, or you have an outrageous appetite with cravings. Those are all signs of overtraining. And we could say it's overtraining, or we could also say, is it under recovery? So
Mhm.
sometimes the workout itself is not the problem. The workout is good, but we're trying to pack too many of them too close together without putting some milder recovery workouts. We forget that some workouts cause recovery, or are recovery, but others cause the need for it. And it's up to you to distinguish which was that.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I wear an Aura ring, and it
Mm.
doesn't lie to me. It's that voice in the back of my head saying, "Sarah, you need to take a step back." Because I'm a type A personality. I love working out. I was an athlete when I was young, and I think that I'm still in high school. So with that being said, it's hard for me to take a step back. So what does a recovery workout look like?
It's a great question. And again, for anybody watching, it's going to be slightly different. So let's say you are a runner. Your whole life you've been a runner, and you like to do sprinting, you go fast or you go long. And that probably later in life isn't going to work for a short period of time anyway as well for you. But you probably are more likely to continue doing that. For you, a light jog and a short duration might be recovery. Anybody listening who doesn't run at all, a light jog is probably high intensity, right? So it's, again, it's who are you? But in general, so to say, for every individual, doing it lighter than you normally would do it if you were getting breathless. So you're just backing way off. You're doing the equivalent of going out for a leisurely walk, not based on a pace or a heart rate or a breathlessness, finishing in a certain time. It's not that. It's movement. So we get circulation, we get blood flow going to working muscles that will help in recovery, which is partially removing lactate that causes soreness and muscle damage, removing that by moving as opposed to sitting on the couch. So the body always does better with active recovery more so than passive recovery. Now, look, I like a massage as well as the next person, probably better, actually. I really like massage. But going for a walk or, for instance, a swim for almost any of us. Now, again, if you're not skill oriented to swimming, that can be a lot of work for you, but we could talk about walking in the water. The water actually really facilitates some really good stuff. And I think a lot of runners have found that secret, that if they jump in the pool after a run just to get wet, float around, or even do a few easy light laps, they find they recover faster. So we're talking lower impact, gentler on the body. And anytime you can get in the water, including, an Epsom salt bath, you're doing better.
I know you love your power plate, and I've got my vibration machine in my garage, and I will do a hard workout with weights and sit-ups and push-ups and doing all the things. But when I also, just in midday, will stand on it for 10 minutes just to get the circulation going, just to calm down my nervous system. And that's one idea. Rebounding. And I always say that taking my dog for a walk, 10 minutes, that's it. Like lowers down that stress level and balances my hormones, gets me out in the sun and nature. And that is magic, and it's free. So there's ways to incorporate little snacks too during the day to mix up your day, help with your mental space, lower that cortisol. But back to the hormone shift, that when we hit 40, when we hit 50, what are the hormones doing? What's changing, and why does that change the way we need to look at our exercise?
Yeah, well, sex hormones are always what we start talking about. And I'm sure as much as you, I dislike that, oh, it's my hormones, and to me that is like oh, I can't do anything about it. It's my hormones. But we can once we figure out what is going on. So physiologically in menopause, what happens is our estrogen is trending downward. So too is our progesterone and our testosterone. For women, estrogen is a huge muscle and bone stimulant. But what the body does magically in effort to stay at some kind of homeostasis is when estrogen comes down, cortisol increases, and the body can magically convert one hormone into another one. When we need something going on, we don't have it, it can convert. Now, if you think about this is like having multiple bank accounts, right? And you just transfer money into the other one, but then you forget. And I don't know who this happens to, right? But you write checks on the one that you've withdrawn and moved over. That's going to be a problem, right? Because whatever you are trying to use, you're not going to get that result. But the body creates more cortisol in response to our trending down estrogen as we're in menopause. This happens to every woman, not just occasionally or those of us that over exercise. It happens to everybody. But it's the body's attempt to say, I can just create estrogen from cortisol and then we'll be okay. And it doesn't work very effectively. It only is able to convert maybe 10%, but the damage is done because cortisol is a catabolic hormone, meaning if we line them up and we say estrogen and cortisol and insulin and testosterone, what do? They're either anabolic, helping us build our lean muscle mass, or they're catabolic and they are responsible for breaking down. Well, estrogen was anabolic. Cortisol, which replaced it, catabolic.
Yeah.
Problem, right? Yeah.
And this is why when they call it the adrenal body type, the adrenals are what produce the cortisol. What happens is you get the big belly because the cortisol is telling your body, I need to protect my organs, right? And then we pull and eat away at the leg muscle and the butt. And so the butt goes away. You have a flat butt, skinny legs, skinny arms, a big buffalo back. Why do you need these big shoulders? Well, think about our ancestors. If you want to protect yourself, you want to be like a football player and have that big fat pad on your back. So those are signs that you're overproducing that cortisol and it's not working for you.
And right back to what you said, if you do that, you over exercise. Earlier you said, and what's going to happen for you is not that you're going to burn calories. You're actually going to potentially burn out, but you're going to create fat storage. And that is the irony right there. So everybody, don't let that slip past you. We create this cortisol adrenal belly. And so what do we do when we see that and we want it gone? We try to burn more calories and we create more of the problem. Right. We not only don't lose weight, we potentially gain more. And it's like we're cementing ourselves in this hole.
And no amount of sit-ups is going to get rid of it.
No, this is true. Ever. Please stop it.
You need to do your sit-ups, but that's not going to get rid of that.
Or a substitute. I'm going to have to beg to differ on that one.
Okay, well, I would love to hear you on that aspect, because I do want to talk about what type of exercises. Okay, because, well, first to finish off the hormones, testosterone, as you get older, your testosterone is also going to decline. And there's ways to increase it naturally. And there's also exercises and ways of exercising to increase testosterone and increase the good estrogen. I hate the word estrogen in the sense that there's estrone, there's the good and the bad and the ugly. Right. And I've actually talked to Dr. Felice Gersh about the fact that we should be calling it estrone dominance, right? Because putting all of them together, that's like saying that apple Skittles are the same as eating a real apple, right? So anyways, there's the change in the hormones is going to make it a little harder to get your results as you're getting older. But that doesn't mean you have to succumb to it. There are ways to increase that estrogen and the testosterone and lower your cortisol. So can we talk about strategies to do that and work with your hormones as we are getting into these perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause?
Yeah, definitely. And in each of those phases, there's a difference. And again, the nuance here is anybody listening would be like, just give me a blueprint, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Many people will be that. But the truth is, you and I know we have to co-collaborate with anybody listening because we're each, bioidentically, we're different, we're unique. And so your experience going through menopause and change is different. The life circumstance you're in, you're caregiving to, a child who needs you or to an older aging adult. You're stressed at work. You've got lots going on with relationship and finance, or God forbid, a California fire. You've got so much that is unique to you, adding to your stressors, that we can't just say every woman in menopause, perimenopause should be doing this.
Yeah.
It's a blueprint. So we've got to say, if this, then that, back to your symptoms. But in general, all right. So what happens in perimenopause is so volatile. That's where we really have that roller coaster. We're trending down with our estrogen, testosterone, growth hormone, progesterone, and all of it, trending up with our cortisol, and your adrenals are trying to play catch up. They're like, whoa, hey, ping pong, not pickleball, right? It goes pretty quickly. But in general, we want to be strength training. If you have not started and you're in your early 40s, get on that right now. The difference between early and late stage perimenopause, and this is always historical, so we have to say this is not us, I'm hoping. So in 10 years, I hope this is very different because we are doing it differently. But if you don't, if you play the game that your mom or your aunt did, we're probably going to get the same results. But between early and late stages of perimenopause, women can lose 20% of their lean muscle mass, 27%. Now, that doesn't set you up for a postmenopause that's very good. We're in trouble if that's true. So we need to be strength training. But here's the thing, it also doesn't take a lot of time. Twice weekly. And I know there's a lot of people doing it different ways, but the research still does say and promote 2 or 3 times there's no difference, no significant difference in the result if you're doing it twice or 3 times. So if you're just getting started and you're busy and you are somewhat tired, or maybe adrenal fatigue is a part of your life, 2 is safer and smarter. So do it and recover completely. But you're talking 40, 45 minutes each. That can get you a complete workout, enough volume and stimulus to support that lean muscle mass. And if you do that, your blood sugar levels will be more regulated, which is a problem in perimenopause, and then look at walking regularly, moving regularly. You mentioned standing on the whole body vibration plate. It's little movement snacks of anything that will help you break up sedentary time, will also help you manage your blood sugar levels. That all contributes to the belly fat deposit. And so if you can stay on top of that, the risk of insulin resistance to perimenopausal women increases the closer she gets to menopause. So we want to put that away into bed if we can. So work on walking daily, and then you have to gauge, can I do HIIT or not? And if you're already tired, fatigued, not getting through the day, feeling really good, it's not the time to add it. If you're sleeping well, your energy's pretty good, your appetite's normal, you're hungry when meals come up, but you're not craving in between, I would say add some HIIT, see how you do 1 or 2 times a week for perimenopausal women, just because we don't want to tip the bucket to overstress your overstressed body already.
Yeah. Before you move on, I just want to emphasize the fact that blood sugar is an issue, but it is more of an issue today than for our mothers and our aunts and our grandmothers, because of the modern toxicities. Those raise our insulin resistance at the cellular level. So we have to work even harder to manage that blood sugar. And muscles are those carb sponges. If the more muscle you have, the more carbs you can eat, and without tipping that scale with the blood sugar. So another motivation to increase that muscle mass. And my best friend, she walked 8 miles a day, hard every day. I'm like, you gotta lift some weights. And finally she started, and now she can't stop. It's so exciting. And she's mid-50s. So, it's never too late to start as well.
Oh, no.
But okay, so now going into menopause, as we move out of perimenopause, what changes?
Yeah. So menopause, as you and I both know, is really just that's a blip on a scale or on the calendar. We hit 12 months post So hello postmenopause, and that's till death do us part, all the way, guys. So we can't take our foot off the accelerator when we're looking at what are the things I need to be doing, things I need to be thinking about. And as we age, honestly, are earnest about paying attention to muscle and to strength and to power should increase, not decrease. We need to be working harder, but we also, in doing that, have to work smarter because, your 60, your 70-year-old bones, muscles, ligaments are not as resilient as when you were 20. They will need better sleep and rest and nutrition and recovery time between. But now, what we know, and the majority of women, we could say average, and I hate saying average, the average age of menopause, but I never want to state this in a way I say the average woman, because guess what? None of us are average, right? I mean, come on. We're way above average. But what you want to be thinking is, by the time you're 60, almost all of us are in postmenopause. We've got a lot of women in our community who actually are not reaching menopause even at 57, 58. They're reaching it later. So good to know, right? They're a little bit more protected for longer in their life with more estrogen available to them at that point. But once you hit postmenopause, your roller coaster ride is pretty much done. And this is to everybody who's wondering, is this if I'm on HRT or if I'm not? It's either way. So, you're stable, much more stable after you've hit, okay, I'm at this plateau, and it may be flatline stable, but at least it's predictable, right? So we need much more stimulus. If we could say at 60, what happens? Not just menopause, but age becomes a factor as well. We lose strength and power much more significantly at about 60. And again, I'm going to repeat myself, but this is historically. This is for those people who weren't lifting their whole lives, for people who hadn't started yet. So we don't have a critical mass enough yet to say, what happens to those of us that have been lifting and lifting, significantly, not just those pink dumbbells in bar classes. Come on, you guys, we got to do better than that, right? If you like it, you can keep going, but you've got to do something else too. So we need more stimulus, more volume. And the studies are telling us the same workout and the same routine that works for women in perimenopause is not going to be enough stimulus for us in postmenopause. You're going to have to dial it up a little. We're going to have to go a little bit heavier or do another set. But the volume ideally doesn't just come from increasing repetitions. And this is a real important distinction. So we tend to want to increase volume by, I'm going to do more reps. So instead of 15, I'll do 20, or I'll do 25, or I'll go to 30. And we also say, I'll add another day. Well, then you're negating your recovery. And that will be problematic because we remember that the fitness happens between the stimulus, not during the workout. So you're not getting more fit because you do more workouts. You're getting more fit if you've done all the recovery pieces. You're getting the rest between, you're getting the sleep between, you're getting the recovery movement between, you're getting adequate calories, adequate protein, micronutrients, and or supplementing so that you're getting them. So we've got to pay attention to that piece. But more sets and heavier weight if you can tolerate it. And we know not everybody can. So remember, it's as heavy as you safely can. No pain.
Yeah, and it's such a conundrum that older women are in because they're afraid to injure themselves, but they actually need more. And they need more just like they need more protein. Like I need to eat more protein than my daughters that are working out 4 times as much as me because their bodies assimilate it much easier than we do as we get older. So you women out there, this is the danger of drugs like Ozempic. And I'm not saying it doesn't have a place for people, but you have to do it right. Because it's super easy not to eat. And then when you eat, you reach for the Ben and Jerry's and you still lose weight. But you're going to be losing your muscle. and you
Mm-hmm.
don't even know it. And that's the other reason I actually am promoting people using a body scan scale, not just the regular bathroom scale, so that
Right.
you can see your fat and your muscle and you can see the trends so you catch it before it gets into a really dangerous spot, because it is very difficult to gain that muscle back
Yeah.
if you lose it. And when you are on a weight loss journey, whether it's with an Ozempic or just a calorie restriction, you tend to not eat enough protein. You actually need to eat more protein, and you need more stimulus
Mm-hmm.
to maintain that muscle mass as you're getting older versus your younger version. And then you get into this really pigeonholed position where you have low mass, your metabolism is lowered down because you were on some sort of restriction, and you've lost muscle. And now when you start getting back again, you're going to gain fat back and not the muscle back. And
Mm-hmm.
no one wants that. So
Right. Yeah.
it is that that trouble, though, with risking injury but also increasing the load. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you tell women
Mm-hmm.
who are afraid of the injury, because that's a real concern?
It certainly is. And I think anybody who's got a prior existing injury, you've got a weak link that you know about. It's always been there. Sometimes there's the opposite. You had a weak link because you had an accident or you got hurt and you rehabbed it so well, it's now a strength. And so realize that also happens. You may have this in your head that you're
Yeah.
vulnerable, but I want everybody to look back and say, for as long as you've feared, certain activity or lifting, have you actually ever been hurt? It's a really good question. So carrying it around, the risk of getting hurt is far greater if you're not doing anything
Yeah.
or not doing strength training than if you are. So it's learning good technique. Number one, I would get over that, get through that, meet with somebody. If you feel better doing this in person, you can meet virtually with someone who's really good and keen with their eye on a body, knows the cues to give you before you know to ask, and you feel it. So, and that's the gold standard. So learn good technique and do good technique with no weight before you begin to weight. And that's one of the biggest differences in not getting hurt. But we increase very gradually. So we play a dance between increasing the weight or increasing the set, increasing the weight or increasing the set. And if you find I'm at my maximum, this is my weight, I feel like I need to maintain right now, going faster or going heavier makes me feel vulnerable. Okay, so let's play with something else. Can we put you time under tension for a greater period of time? And that means slowing down and not using momentum at all. So for general purposes, if you are lifting and lowering, a repetition takes between 1 to 2 seconds to lift and 3 to 4 to lower. On average, it's about a 6 second. Most individuals, hello, type A's, we go faster than that. Right? We just want to get more done. We're going to get on to the next thing because we're thinking about what we have to do in an hour. So you've got to slow down and be in the second, the moment, be present, slow down and really imagine the muscles you're working, but slowing down further. So if I were doing a chest press, and I'm starting position, I'm going to pause and hold that for 2 seconds. And then I'm going to go slower on that press and I'm going to make it take 4 seconds. I'm going to pause at the end point again, 2 seconds, and then I'm going to lower for 4 seconds. So are we doing math here? 4 and 4 and 2 and 2. We've got 12 seconds. We've doubled the time for each of those repetitions. And I guarantee you the weight that you thought that's as heavy as I can lift, I can't go heavier. If you weren't reaching fatigue before at that slow pace, it will suddenly feel much heavier.
Yeah.
Your muscle, zero momentum, is doing the work. And you can reach muscular fatigue that way without feeling as vulnerable. So that's just one little trick to use and apply.
And I want to stress the fact that when you're going slow, and you're more intentional. You're connecting your mind to
Mm-hmm.
your body,
Mm-hmm.
and you will actually get more out of that lift or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you're doing versus rushing through it.
Yeah.
Um, we talked before coming on the most important exercise, and just a little hint, I have not been to my yoga class in a month, and I I don't stretch. I will, touch my toes before I start my workout. And I think that my warm up on the rower machine is kind of my warm up and stretching my body out a little bit. But my goodness, my body today, after doing yoga this morning, and
Mm.
yes, they incorporate weights too, but they incorporate the yoga part where it's this nice combination. My body feels like it's brand new
Mm.
after not going for a month. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
reminder of what I have to be doing more as I'm getting older. So, with that being
Yeah.
said, what is the most important exercise
Mm-hmm.
for us women in that perimenopause and menopausal stage?
Yeah, we talked about it in the green room that, you know, not very long ago, my answer to that question would have been strength training because muscle is going to be the key for you doing all the other things and doing the power and things that will help us extend our longevity. And more lately, more that I'm reading, more research, and what I'm watching anecdotally among our members is that mobility is like the gatekeeper to our ability to do the strength training. And so, whether you're just starting out or if you're already doing it like you're a veteran, right? But there comes a point where you're almost, if you think about how good would I feel after, a yoga class, you crave it. You crave that feeling because everything right now is a little bit tight. So for anybody who's finding my weight training is falling flat, it just doesn't feel good, you might spend a little bit more time doing some mobility work, maybe going to a yoga class. So somebody's leading you through it, you're really doing it. You don't have to sit and stretch by yourself. But I think that us maintaining that, and there's so much good to be said about yoga as well, of your weight bearing on your upper body. And for women, that is going to be key. We're going to outlive men in general. For the most part, we're going to do that. We're lighter in our upper body. We haven't lifted as much throughout our lives, just functionally, as prior generations did. So in that way, we're also more at risk for upper body fractures in the upper portion of our spine or the rounding kyphosis that can happen. So weight bearing there is great. And so good for you. And it's like a functional strength workout, even if you're not going to something that incorporates weights. Weight bearing with rotation, flexibility with extension, lateral flexion. You're getting movements that in traditional strength training, while we're focused on bone density, going heavy, linear movements, we don't get. You need to do things that are not linear. We can't just walk forward or lift forward and straight on. We need rotation. We've got to get those in.
Yeah, because if you don't, you're risking injury, fall. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have a fall, your risk of mortality is increased significantly.
Yes.
And I saw this with my mom who fell off a horse.
Mm.
And thank goodness, like I thought she was going downhill very quickly. And about 12 months in, after I saw her mental capacity go down too, because when you don't move your body, your mind's not going to work well either. You're
So
going to
true.
slip very quickly. She had a light bulb moment that said, I want to live life.
Mm.
And her attitude changed. She's doing physical therapy 3 times a week. She's very active. She walks with her friends. She knows the importance of movement. She's better about her diet. And she also knows the importance of bone density. And we've talked about this because, osteoporosis runs in our family. So let's talk quickly about the importance of weight training for
Mm-hmm.
bones. It's not just for the muscles and
Oh,
the
gosh.
risk of injury, but for our bones.
Yeah, absolutely. And the time to be doing that is whenever you're listening right now. It's a start because if you're in your 30s or 40s, you're going to be better off when you reach your 50s because you're still able to put something in the bank. And I want to clear something up that is a lingering rumor that even some doctors who've been in practice for a very long time, they one time learned this, and many of them are still passing this along, that after a certain point or a certain age you can't increase bone density. That's a myth. You absolutely can. We've seen it during the pandemic. We had people doing our program at home, not going to a gym, not doing heavy strength training with machines and plates, but at home, just doing that focused effort, increasing. So reversing bone loss, coming out of osteopenia into I'm now fine. My DEXA scan is coming back looking good. And that's very exciting. But we do need to lift again as heavy as we possibly can will have the best benefit for bone. However, again, 5 years ago, I would have said, you got to lift heavy, 10 or fewer repetitions to fatigue. And it's true that those will most likely have the most positive and fastest result. Takes about 9 or 10 months to see a change on a DEXA scan, by the way. So you've got to stay with that. But we've seen now that doing yoga in Dr. Lauren Fishman's 12 yoga poses a day, that's a 12-minute series, increases bone density consistently, 1% every year over a 7-year period of time. So that's nothing to blink about. So it's making me wonder, wait a minute, if that's true, then we have to say lighter weights must still have some significant benefit. So I want all of you to hear that. If you're limited and you cannot lift heavy, don't think it doesn't count. This isn't going to help my bone. Absolutely it is. But there have been lots of studies since 2016 and on showing high intensity strength training, meaning really heavy, fewer reps to fatigue, and high impact exercise, jumping, hopping, drop jumps. You stand on your chair, jump to the floor, actually increases bone density. And for postmenopausal women diagnosed with osteoporosis, there were no injuries. The risk of injury has been feared, but never validated. And now we're seeing they don't get hurt. It's progressive. We don't start them today jumping off of that chair. We might start them hopping with their own body weight and little bits over long periods of time, but increasingly, progressively harder. Yeah.
Everyone has 12 minutes in their day.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is too, as I'm thinking, we talked a little bit about stress and cortisol. Well, your kidneys hold up your adrenals, okay? And if your adrenals are overtapped, your kidneys will inflame. And that's why a lot of people will throw out their backs when they're stressed out, because the kidneys are literally putting more pressure on your back. And I've done it. I was putting on my clothes, bending over in my closet. I wasn't in the gym and I threw out my back. And that's stress. But if you have the structure and the muscles and the strength in the core to support you, you're going to be able to handle things like that better. But us women, regardless if you're strength training or not, everyone's got to go to the market and bring in the bag of groceries. So you're risking more injury if you don't strength train and have the muscles to bring in those watermelons and the cans of water, whatever you're bringing in. So life requires muscle, and if you train for it, then you will lower your risk of injury and have all the amazing benefits that we've talked about. Well, Debra, what have we not covered that you want to make sure our listeners take away?
I think it's the biggest thing is get started, and if you're at a loss for where to get started and you're not doing anything with mobility, that may be the easiest place for you to get going. Start with that. Start with walking, and you don't have to go for an hour walk today. Do 10 minutes. How about you do 10 minutes? Yep.
Yeah. And your dog will love it too, if you've
Right.
Well, how can people find you and work with you?
So you can find me at flipping50.com, all words spelled out, no spaces, and on social, mostly YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and they're all Flipping50 TV.
I love it. I see you every day and it makes my day. You're such an inspiration. Your spirit is so positive, and more women need to know who you are and how to find you and work with you, because you truly are. You're a blessing. So thank you so much for today. I learned something. I definitely need to work on, taking those recovery days. But we all have our thing, right? So thank you, Debra.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Goodness, I love Debra and all that she brings, the importance of strength training. And personally, I've gotten away from the cardio. I do more HIIT training to get my cardiovascular health up, but the weights to failure, and then incorporating the stretching, that's something that I personally have to work a little bit more on. But with that, I mentioned that as we get older, we also need more protein. And you women out there, I don't know why we're afraid of eating protein, but one easy way to get it in is the brand new accelerated aminos. Why did I create this supplement? I only create supplements that I feel like there's not the best out there. I had an experience with another top brand where there were ingredients in their fillers, that were actually backing up my liver and causing water retention and not working. My liver wasn't even able to assimilate it. So that's where we came up with the accelerated aminos. It goes beyond the 9 essential amino acids like every other supplement out there. It has the 99% absorption. One dose is the equivalent of 30 grams. You're supposed to be getting in 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you're 150 pounds, you're supposed to be eating 150 grams. And you're probably thinking, there's no way I can hardly get in 70. Well, you can fill in with accelerated aminos. It protects the muscles. Debra talked about catabolic versus anabolic. We have put ingredients in it that help with that anabolism. OKG, HMB, orotic acid, those are 3 ingredients that keeps your body in that anabolic state. So it's not breaking down those muscles. It's not going after those good glutes that you've carried for all of your lifetime that you start to lose as you're getting older. We also have 0 fillers in the formula. Super important to me, because I didn't want to take a chance with any of you out there where you might have a reaction to some filler that is not even meant to be in there. But the other ingredients, synactive and estrogen, no one's heard of them. No one's putting them in an amino acid formula. Not only do they increase VO2 max, increase ATP, your mitochondrial health, they increase your metabolism, but they also help heal the gut. So you're actually assimilating your nutrients that you're taking in from your diet and from the amino acids more effectively. So you're getting more bang for your buck. And that is what I love. I want to make sure that you are getting what you paid for. We also have put in there TMG. That supports liver health. It reduces the homocysteine levels for your heart, and it boosts athletic performance, and it actually helps with your creatine production within your body. I know a lot of you are thinking, should I be taking creatine or not? Well, this actually helps your own body produce its own. There's so many benefits. You're going to have more energy in the brain during your workout. You're preventing that muscle breakdown. So you're actually getting more of that anabolism, less catabolism, which happens as we get older, and you're just going to feel better. You literally feel better throughout the day. So with that, also iodine is super important for muscles, for mitochondrial health, for thyroid. We were talking about hormones declining. A lot of women also see their thyroid health decline as they get older. Well, with that, iodine is the #1 supplement for thyroid health. It is the 3 and 4 of the T3 and T4, your thyroid hormones. That is your metabolism. It increases that ATP within the cell, within the mitochondria. That is your cellular health. That increases fat oxidation. That increases the ability for the cells to let go of the toxins, the bad estrogens that we're talking about, and let the nutrients get into the cells to fuel your body. Helps with your brain. It helps with depression. It increases just your overall energy for life. And with that, you're going to feel better. You're going to want to work out more. It also increases muscle synthesis and protein synthesis. So you're able to utilize that protein for your muscles. Lastly, I just want to mention, you want to make sure you're taking your electrolytes with your workouts. So I've talked about my children, athletes, right? My son is a sophomore, 15 years old. He was working out 4 hours a day and his heart was stopping. He was pounding on his chest to get it to beat again. He had a healthy heart. What we didn't realize was he was not supplementing with enough electrolytes. If you are training, you need to supplement like you're training. Accelerated ancient salt is the easiest way to do it. Put it in your coffee, put it in your pre-workout drink, take it with your accelerated aminos, and it helps plump up the blood to get the toxins out that you're kicking out with the accelerated iodine, but it is providing over 62 minerals so that your cells have that energy and that intracellular hydration inside the cells, not the hydration that's causing the inflammation and the puffiness and your rings can't come off. That is extracellular hydration. So accelerated ancient salt, it's been proven that you can work out an extra 21 minutes when you're supplementing with a proper unrefined salt. So hopefully that was helpful. Contact Debra. She is amazing. She's a light personality. Her education, what she's bringing to the women over 50 population is just priceless. Our discussion does not have to stop here. You can get your free supplement protocol. Maybe you're a little confused, don't know where to start. Just go to SaraBantaHealth.com, complete the form, and I will personally put together a protocol for you. Follow me on social media at Accelerated Health Products. Join the free group coaching. There's no downside. You might have some questions from today. It is on Telegram. I answer your questions, post insights, and it's free. You can find this podcast as Accelerated Health with Sara Banta on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, E360, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Roku, and over 100 different platforms. And share this podcast with your friends. They need this. Maybe they're on the couch too much. Maybe they're afraid of injuring themselves with weights. Maybe they're cardio junkies and just doing their 8-mile walks every day. They need to hear Debra. And you can use coupon podcast10 to get 10% off site-wide. Remember, I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so join me next time for more ways to unlock your health potential.